Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're watching. Welcome to another episode of Crime Time with DutyRon. I'm a retired New York City police detective with 20 years of law enforcement. And guys, if you like all things true crime related from a police perspective, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you will get all things DutyRon when I go live or upload another video. And today we're going to talk about Brian Laundrie, the hunt for him, and why charges have not been upgraded. I have received the most amount of questions and comments about after this autopsy results, the cause and manner was released by the Teton County coroner, Dr. Brent Blue. And ever since then, everyone is asking me dozens a day, DutyRon, why haven't these charges been upgraded? Why? Why is he not charged with murder now that we have the autopsy results? Let me say a special thank you to the replay viewers, the channel members, the Patreon supporters, the moderators, everyone who works hard to make Crime Time with DutyRon a great, safe place to come, to express your thoughts, to express your opinions, and express your concerns. It is because of great folks like you that this community grows and is great. So thank you. Thank you to every one of you. I'm going to play a quick video for you. It's from a day or two ago. I just want you guys to get it. I have two special guests. Folks, you are not going to want to miss this stream. Hang around towards the end. I'm going to do a live Q&A with the audience. I'm going to give you, the audience, a chance to call in on a StreamYard link, but you're going to have to subscribe or go over to my Twitter feed, Twitter or Instagram, preferably Twitter, and send me a direct message that you want to join with a question regarding Brian Laundrie. It's going to be pinpointed questions. It's not going to be about anything else. It's going to be about Brian Laundrie and his charges. So we're going to do that towards the end of the show. So go over to my Twitter, which is DutyRon. Hit the subscribe for Twitter, and then because you can't send me a message if you're not following me on Twitter. So follow me at DutyRon on Twitter, and then send me a message that you want to join the show. Questions about Brian Laundrie and his charges. So here we go, folks.
For more now, let's bring in ABC News Chief Legal Analyst Dan Abrams. And Dan, what does this finding tell us?
It's two pieces of bad news for Brian Laundrie. First, with regard to the cause of death. When you're talking about strangulation, that is very typically the cause of death in domestic violence cases. It is angry, it is violent, it takes time. That is precisely what many believe happened here. Number two is the timeline. Is the coroner basically saying 3 to 4 weeks from the time the body was found? And that is precisely around the same time that Gabby was last seen alive.
And, you know, you've also often made this point that that the difference between a person of interest and a suspect is a distinction without a real difference. But will this change that? Will he be an official suspect now?
No, they don't ever really name people official suspects much anymore. They call them persons of interest until they get arrested. And then they're the official suspect in the case. But don't be fooled. When Brian Laundrie's attorney says that they look forward to him coming back so he can be tried and address the bank fraud charge, as if that's why there's a national manhunt out, is for a guy involved in a bank fraud case, is of course totally disingenuous. The bottom line is he is not just a suspect, he is the only suspect in the death of Gabby.
At this point,
Petito.
a fugitive.
And a fugitive, absolutely. Yeah, because there is that arrest warrant out for him in connection with the bank fraud case.
It's frustrating. They keep saying he's missing.
Right.
He's missing. It's like he's on the run. There's a difference between, there's families now out there saying, hey, can you please help find our son like other families do? But DNA evidence we heard in Victor's report. Yeah. How's that going to play out?
Well, look, it could cut either way, right? Because on the one hand, as you heard, it's absolutely true that if they find his DNA under her fingernails, that's a game changer. Meaning, expect to find his DNA on her body, right? They were together. That's not surprising. You find it under her fingernails, that's a defensive thing. But remember, there's a possibility that you could find a third person's DNA. And that's the sort of thing a defense attorney loves to see as a potential argument about another possible suspect.
Okay, so there you have it, folks. That was Good Morning America. And I want to say something here about these guys. They're one of the first news programs that I heard call it as they saw it. And they said, he's not a person of interest. He is suspect number one. So I tip my cap to the senior analyst there, given his analysis. He also spoke about the manhunt for credit card fraud as a federal fugitive of justice. So there was a couple of really good points that were brought up by the news reporter there. Joining me here today is a fan favorite of everybody. He is the bread and butter behind Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. You know him, you love him, retired Sergeant Bill Cannon from the Manhattan North Homicide Squad. Bill, thank you for joining, and it's great to see you.
DutyRon, great to be here today. You know, even when you call me at the last minute, I'm available. I have no life. I'm a podcaster, you know.
Your no life is my gain. So that's a good thing. Bill, what was your thoughts on that little piece that we played there? They talked about, the person of interest, and they pretty much gave the business to the person of interest thing, which we haven't seen the media do. What was your thoughts on that?
You know, DutyRon, myself and my co-host Phil Grimaldi, we were saying this 3 weeks ago, that this whole person of interest nonsense is just a term made up by law enforcement to pacify the media, to take the media away from saying, is he a suspect? Is he a suspect? Oh, no, he's a person of interest. Maybe they consider that to be a lesser term than suspect. But I thought as of day one that Brian Laundrie was a suspect based on tons of circumstantial evidence. So, yeah, I applaud them for coming out and saying, oh, yes, he's a person of interest. We said some of the same exact things that Dan Abrams, maybe he was watching our show. Yeah, if there is Brian Laundrie's DNA is expected to be on Gabby Petito. They lived together. They lived in very close quarters inside a van. However, if his DNA is under her fingernails, that is a different thing. That shows defensive wounds, shows that she may have been struggling with him as he was attempting to strangle her, throttle her. That was the word they used, in a throttling motion. So we said that also, like 3 weeks ago, that if his DNA is found underneath her fingernails, that's a different story.
It's a game changer. And, again, it shows that she put a struggle up and fought him off when he, again, with the throttling. We watched Barbara Butcher, chief medical examiner, retired chief of staff, and others say it's an intimate act that goes on when you're talking about strangulation, manual strangulation, throttling. Again, this is something that we would expect to see, but it's not a guarantee. Nothing in homicide investigation is a guarantee. When you get bits and pieces like that, it's almost like it's a find. To find something like that, it really helps the case, and I'm hoping that they do have that. But as we sit here, we have Brian Laundrie either on the run or deceased. There's so many people that speculate, oh, he went out of the country, he did this, he had much time to do this, to prepare, his parents prepared him. Why not charges against the parents? Why not charges against Brian Laundrie? Why haven't they been upgraded? I wanted to just get your thoughts for that, because that is a very humongous hot topic.
Well, it wouldn't make any sense to drop the arrest warrant right now for the murder until they have him. If they have him, I'm sure they're going to bring him in and he's going to be charged. And then obviously once they get him, they don't need an arrest warrant. They could just bring him in with probable cause. But they do have that arrest warrant, and it's a federal arrest warrant for unauthorized use of an access device, which to the non-law enforcement is just a credit card or a debit card, which he used. He used Gabby's debit card to charge whatever on his ride home from Wyoming to Florida. So they have that warrant, because once you file charges, the speedy trial law goes into effect, and the prosecution has to answer ready in a certain amount of time. So they're building this case. It's very smart. Build this case, cross your T's, dot your I's, and then when you capture him, bring him in, indict him, and the wheels of justice start to go forward.
The crazy part about this is that most of the internet folks, the armchair detectives, if you want to call it that, or the people who just follow true crime, they are passionate about this stuff, and they want to see everything happen like how they see it on TV. And it doesn't happen that way. The charges of this unauthorized use of a credit card, like you said, they want to use that to get him to come on in. And then if he comes in, or if they get him, they capture him, boom, you can upgrade the charges at that time. It doesn't mean that they have to release and show their cards to everybody and say, hey, we got them. This is what we needed, because that also causes more evasive behavior on a suspect. Now, people would say, well, why are you talking about that? Everybody's talking about this. This is not rocket science. This is not something that's brand new to police investigation 101. And Bill, you've been in the homicide field for 18 plus years as a sergeant and as an investigator in that capacity. You know how this game works, and it's a frustrating thing to a civilian because they don't know what goes on behind the scenes. And that's what's great about Police Off the Cuff and Crime Time with DutyRon. You're going to get the police perspective, the investigative side, without us giving away major trade secrets that aren't already out there in the Google search bar. But you're going to get it from people who actually did the job. And this man right here was a detective sergeant. He supervised homicide detectives, and he overlooked cases and made sure they were correct. Bill, what do you have to say to some of these folks that are saying Brian Laundrie's parents should be hogtied and dragged in? What's the pros and cons of that?
You know, first of all, the number one target of this investigation is Brian Laundrie, not his parents. There is no emergency to get his parents. If during the course of this investigation, it's determined that they did contribute to, and I know the bar is very high, to aiding a fugitive, to whatever the charge would be in knowing where he is, assisting him in staying away, assisting him in getting away. When and if that time comes, they'll be charged. But right now, the number one target is Brian Laundrie. And I'd just like to say one thing. One of the things that makes this case so difficult is the fact that Brian Laundrie lawyered up immediately. In the homicide business, you always like to get a statement or a confession, even if the statement isn't a full statement, a statement putting them there, a statement implicating them. And that makes your case that much more, a little easier. But minus a statement, someone lawyers right up, now you really have to build the case from the ground up. You have to collect evidence. Not that you don't have to when you get a statement or a confession, but it makes it that much more difficult. So you have to really build the physical evidence, build the circumstantial evidence, build the DNA evidence, the fiber evidence, the electronic evidence, all of that you have to build and make sure it is 100% correct, because a defense attorney is going to come in and he's going to try to take apart your case and create doubt, because we know that in this country, you have to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's what a defense attorney's job is to create doubt.
Excellent. And that is a very, very important point, is some people lose track of that, is that in the criminal justice field, you have the prosecution who has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this defendant did commit act A, B, and C, and so on and so forth. But on that whole side of the defense team, they're there to create some kind of doubt. And all they have to do is grab at little things. And that brings us to our next guest, who everybody loves to hate, a criminal defense attorney. but this guy, Joe Murry, the Silver Fox, he happens to get away with this because of, I don't know, maybe his good looks card, maybe it's something that his savviness, his soiree, but he is a New York City police officer from the NYPD, retired. Now in his retired life is a criminal defense attorney. Joining us with his mic muted is Joe Murry. Joe, thank you so much for being here and taking out your Sunday to talk about Brian Laundrie.
It's a pleasure to be here, especially with Bill. I think that to you guys, it's my honor to share the stage with you.
What are your thoughts on the question at hand, is what we're talking about here? Brian Laundrie, the autopsy results came out, the manner and cause. We not only now know that it was a murder by a homicide, murder. Now we know the manner and the cause. No charges, no upgrades. What are your thoughts as a criminal defense attorney? He's already obtained counsel from the get-go. What are your thoughts for that?
I think, if this was a state prosecution, which it could be, maybe they deferred it to the state. If it was a state prosecution, generally when they go to the grand jury and get an indictment, they don't look to supersede it. Conversely, in the federal government, the U.S. attorney continuously supersedes the indictment and changes the indictment, and it's just so much easier to do that in the federal system. So if we already have the first indictment about the unauthorized access device, they could very easily supersede that and present their new evidence to a grand jury. Or perhaps because we don't know what they know, and it may already have had some pretty compelling evidence that they presented the case already, but have not yet unsealed it. So we're still guessing as to what happened, but that indictment may very well be there. It's just not unsealed yet.
Yeah, you and I talked about that earlier today, and I knew that the audience would be kind of fascinated by that. So there's an extreme possibility, and Bill touched on it a little bit earlier, is that there could be an indictment that is there that just is not going to be released. And I'm trying to talk in layman's terms for the audience. So they won't release it until they actually have a person in custody. And that's what you alluded to as well, right, Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So my idea here is that, there's so much misinformation that swirls on the internet. There's so many chat rooms, there's so many Facebook groups, and everybody chimes in with their thoughts. And that is great to do. It's great to have conversations. But when that conversation takes you down a rabbit hole that is not healthy, that's not helpful, that's not truthful, it makes people it gives people false hope, is what I'm trying to say. So if people are talking and everyone comes to believe that, hey, Brian Laundrie, there should be a murder warrant out for this guy. It shouldn't be for unauthorized use of a credit card. It shouldn't be for him using Gabby's van. Like Joe and Bill, I mean, I'll let you take it first, Bill. That is another thing that is just stuck in so many people's heads as they say, why didn't he get charged with grand theft auto? Why didn't he get charged with unauthorized use of a vehicle? Thoughts?
Well, as far as that goes, because him and Gabby were boyfriend and girlfriend, they were engaged. He had permission and authority to use her van. Now, if they could prove at what point she was murdered, exactly the time, and then does death, I don't know, and Joe would probably answer this better, does death take away permission and authority to use someone's property if that relationship is so close? And I'm not saying he committed the murder at this point. I'm just saying the law itself. Does someone's death take away your permission and authority to use their property if you're somewhat related to them, or in this case, boyfriend and girlfriend, fiance? What do you think, Joe?
Counselor?
Well, let me back up for a second, because I think it goes even beyond that. Here we have, and what we know, and again, this is important. I'm glad you brought this up, Ron, about facts and then, misinformation that's out there. We don't know, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that she's the registered owner. And we all know, we all have kids, that a lot of times people will register the car in someone else's name. Like perhaps it was both of their car, but to get a lower insurance rate, they put it in Gabby's name. So he could be on the title of the car, but not on the registration. So I don't want to, unless we know that could be the issue, that it was both of their vehicle.
Right. Or he could even have been listed as a driver on the insurance policy. That's a common thing that goes on. Is like,
it happens a lot, and it's technically insurance fraud, but it happens. Similarly, Bill brought up a good point. Can you see? Here's the issue, Bill. Let's just say I lent you my car. I gave you my Ferrari and said, "Have fun for the weekend."
You don't have a Ferrari, Joe. Stop trying to let the audience think you have a Ferrari.
He told me.
All right, so you lend me your Ford Escort.
Fusion. So if I lend you my Fusion, right, and I die of a heart attack, you don't know I died of a heart attack. Did you steal my car? No, you didn't steal. You have to have the mental state. So I believe, I've never encountered it, but I believe that would be a defense to that unless he had knowledge. Now, if he's accused of murdering her, he had knowledge of, her death, and he caused her death. So I would think that, that would implicitly terminate his license for it. So I don't think that's the issue. I think it's more of whether it was joint property, it was purchased together, and perhaps they just registered it and insured it under her name for, save
Hey,
money.
let me just jump in here just for a second. Very good point. And Joe, you always bring such a great both sides of the coin kind of ideas and thoughts from the criminal. Like, you use such good judgment on what you say and what you do. I greatly appreciate you. But Jen from Red, White, and Bethune is in the chat. Jen and Kyle are great friends of the DutyRon community. I just wanted to say quickly hello to the Bethune family, and thank you for joining here. She does her live streams tonight, I believe 7:30 p.m. my time, Eastern time. So if she's going to be live, I encourage everyone to go over and hang out with them tonight. Jen, if you can confirm that in the chat, if you guys are going live tonight, because I didn't see anything scheduled. But Jen from Red, White, and Bethune, her and her husband are the ones that are responsible for the GoPro video that brought us to the recovery, I believe, and Joe, Bill, we all believe that. Yep. To the recovery of
100%
Gabby Petito. If they had not taken that footage, there may be even a chance that her body would have never been recovered because of the remote area that she was in and the wildlife in that area. So these are American heroes, and as Bill said on the last stream, we were all together. He congratulated them. He told them that they were, sent there by God, sent there by their son Ethan, who was killed in a car accident, and it was just the anniversary just days ago. So here it is. She will be live at 7 p.m. So this old man got it wrong, as always. 7 p.m., folks, Eastern time. Everyone set your calendars, set your reminders. Red, White, and Bethune, there she is. That's Jen and Kyle and the whole family. They will be live tonight at 7 p.m. Show them some love. Go over there and shower them with goodness from the DutyRon community. Let them know that
DutyRon raid.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, we raided them 2 weeks ago, and
that was great.
Tell them you're from the DutyRon community or police off the cuff, because we share, as Bill. This is Bill's word, the cross-pollination.
That's right, cross-pollination of good podcasting.
Right, cross-pollination of good podcasting, but great community members. The folks who are here in the chat, the people who show up every day, that leave comments, that go to our websites and leave us messages. You guys are instrumental in making this a great place. So thank you to that. Let's reel it back in. Again, everybody wants to see Brian Laundrie, and anybody who has hindered prosecution or that helped him. And all of this is alleged because, as we know, I got a defense attorney. I don't want to get sued. So Joe Murry is here. He'll put papers on me in a second. I know it.
DutyRon, if I could just say one thing, just interject before I forget this.
Go.
When the time comes and Brian Laundrie is arrested and charged with this murder, all these other things that everyone is hung up on, the fact that he used her vehicle, and that may have been a crime once we know definitively when she was killed, that he used her credit card or debit card access device, and all of these other things, the parents that if they find out they may have helped him get away, contributed to him staying away. When the time comes for the biggest charge, which is the murder indictment, all of those things will be used as evidence in this case. Maybe not be charged, but be used as evidence that builds this case and makes this case a much more solid case.
I agree 100%. And by a show of hands from the folks in the chat, who believes that Brian Laundrie is alive? Put a 1 in the chat if you believe he is still alive and on the run. Put a 2 in the chat if you think that he is no longer alive. I'm just curious. There's 2,200 people here, and I just want to see what the vibe is. 1 in the chat if you feel that he is on the run and still alive. 2 if you feel that he is no longer with us. So it looks like the number 1s are overtaking the number 2s here in the chat preliminarily. Joe, what's your thoughts? I always have to, when I see that you're starting to get a little distracted by looking at all your Google searches, I
I was
gotta
gonna put a one in. I was gonna put a one in.
don't put a one in the chat. Hey, you have an associate that's there behind you. You have your producer. You let her do that.
Okay.
Okay. What's your thoughts? I want to put you on the spot. Is Brian Laundrie alive?
I'm not on the spot. I actually am going to flip it back on you because we only talk facts on yours and Bill's show. Has there been some confirmation from law enforcement that he's no longer missing, that he's actually on the run, or is that something that everyone's presuming?
I listen. I'll say this. Here, let me answer that question in full screen because I feel like I want to take over this whole thing right now. Brian Laundrie's actions and his actions alone lead me to believe that he is on the run and not a missing person. He came home on September 1st. He laid his head down every night and went to sleep. Now, unbeknownst to us, because we don't know what he said to his parents, but you can't tell me that a 23-year-old comes home from a whirlwind cross-country trip in a van that they left their home in Florida with, went up to New York on July 2nd, went to Gabby's parents, and then said, we're going across country. You can't tell me that he came home September 1st and laid his head down for 10 days, actually 11 days, before something was said about Gabby, because they retained an attorney. He never answered phone calls from Gabby's parents. The parents, the Laundrie parents, as somebody says, dirty laundry parents, they never answered emails, text messages, and phone calls. So that is a clear and concise indicator in my eyes that he is A, dirty and smells and stinks to high heavens, and B, it's showing guilt. If you had a dispute, or if you had a disagreement, or you broke up, you come back home and say, we're done. She walked away from me. She went to her friend's house. She got on a plane, or she drove. She took off with her friends. But that didn't happen. They lawyered up. Bill, what's your thoughts?
I agree with every single thing you said. I think that almost all the things you said build I'm not saying rock solid, but a strong circumstantial case that he did this. The behaviors that he exhibited don't make sense for someone who's not guilty. That's what a guilty person does. A guilty person doesn't talk to anyone. He lawyers up. I believe he told his parents what he did. All of a sudden he goes missing. And one thing I've said this numerous times, a New York City Police Department patrol guide, and I don't know what the patrol guide says in Wyoming, a missing person does not include someone who's wanted on a warrant or wanted for a crime. So therefore, he's no missing person.
Can I take a shot?
Bingo. I was getting to you next. Joe, your thoughts?
Okay, I need help from you guys with the timeline. I was under the impression, yes, he did come home, he laid his head down. All those things are true. I don't think they prove your case, because if he knew, if he murdered her, I think he would have been planning his run all along and not wait 10 days. I think what I need help with is the timing. I think he left to go on his little excursion before her body was found. So
Joe, can I say one thing, and I'll let you answer this, but I'm not trying to talk over you, but I'm going to say this. In my eyes and in my investigative thought process, and Bill, you can interject while I'm talking. You could stop me if you think I'm wrong. I feel that Brian Laundrie knew that she was out in the wilderness and that nobody would find her. He did not plan this and say, well, Red, White, and Bethune is going to drive by and have video. Not only did they drive by, but they drove by recording that drive-by. He didn't think in a million years that anybody would know that he was out in the middle of the Grand Teton, the Spread Creek dispersed camping area. The dispersed camping area is the most rural, most off-the-grid spot. There's no toilets. There's no nothing. There's nothing there. So he either walked her body out there or had her walk out with him, choked her out at that location, or did it in the van and dragged her out there and went home and said, nobody's going to effing find her. And I'm good to go. I'm golden. And the more time that went by, the happier he was. But on September 11th, while we were here in the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and the attack on our country, he did not in a gazillion years think that the Northport Police Department was going to come and knock at his door. And that's when he shit himself and said, oh, I'm fucked. And that's when this whole thing started. And that's when he planned the next several days. And that's once he found out Gabby's body was recovered, he was like, I'm out. And anybody want to jump in and stop me?
I just
Joe, before you go, can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
DutyRon, I agree with everything you said. And the other thing is like going camping and then all of a sudden disappearing and his parents try to report him missing. To me, that was also, I think, a faux pas on the part of the Florida Police Department that was supposed to be having him under surveillance. And they so loosely regarded him when they kept using that stupid term, person of interest. No, to me, he was a suspect that minute, and I wouldn't have let him get out of our sight.
Yeah, there should have been a fixer on the front and back of that house and even on the corners. And I don't care if you had to call in mutual aid from adjoining police departments. We know how this goes, Bill. You were a supervisor. You were a patrol supervisor at one time. If we had somebody who had that was potential, that it was even a potential for a homicide, we would have Sector Eddie, Sector Frank, Sector Charlie, Sector David, and they'd be all watching that freaking location.
And if he got away, the persons that were watching him would have not been happy with their next post.
Correct. The Brighton Beach Boardwalk in the middle of
the Staten Island by Tony and Tina's Pizza Shop,
Yeah. What I'm worried about right now is that Joe is on the phone with Johnny Cochran Jr. That's what I'm worried about, is Joe is on the phone with Johnny Cochran Jr.
He's pulling out his law books.
Yeah. Joe, I'm sorry to cut you off. Your thoughts back.
Well, I want to retort what you were saying about it's so obvious that he killed her and nobody was going to find her. That would make sense if he concealed the body. But from everything I've seen, nobody's indicated that body was buried or concealed in any way. And it was only 200 feet from the road.
But in the middle of nowhere, you don't consider that concealed? Do you want me to show you the overview of that?
I don't, because as you know, a body out in the wild, there'll be vultures, buzzards, all kinds of animals,
and that's
all over that.
He wants the evidence to be consumed.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, I would go with it if it made sense, but those facts don't fit. If he killed her and was concealing the body, you would think he would. How hard would it be for a survivalist to dig a hole and bury her?
I got you. We can agree to
disagree.
Didn't do it. Yeah, no, I got you, Joe. Again, I feel that you have people that are agreeing with you. Here's Odette Popko. She says, I agree with Joe.
I want to go with the facts that we know, just like the timing. I think he left to go on his little excursion before the body was found. So that kind of deflates your argument that, whoa, once her body was found, he took off. So I don't see that he's anything more than a missing person right now. Now, when he left, I don't know if he had communications and found out subsequently that he was wanted, but they would need to prove that to charge him with anything. On top of which, he could have made that decision on his own after 10, 12 days or whatever of constantly being bombarded. And when he went out there, he's just contemplating himself. I'm never going to have a normal life. I'm gone. I'm leaving. So, and it may not be flight that he's engaging in, just leaving, getting off the grid.
All right.
The Unabomber went up to the mountains, like he just, wandered off and didn't want to live in society.
We're coming up to the second half hour of the show. It's only going to be 60 minutes here. So we're at 34 minutes. I want to just play a little piece. An artist from Blue Point, Long Island, created a mural for Gabby Petito. She got permission to do it on the side of a building. And I want to show that quickly because I think it's important for our folks outside the country and outside of the New York and Florida area to see some of the goodness that's going on. There was also a fundraiser today in Blue Point at the Blue Point Fire Department for the Gabby Petito Foundation. I was unable to make it, last minute stuff, running around with the missus, but I understand that you couldn't even get near the place. So that is encouraging and exciting that many people showed up to show support for the Gabby Petito Foundation. So let me just add this to stream, show it off, and we'll be back in 2 seconds.
Side of the law office. We are in Blue Point on the side of the law office building here. Patricia Blair has graciously donated her building. That's kind of how this all started. Was I'd spoken with the Schmidt and Petito family, and so before I got the ball rolling, I obviously wanted to make sure it was something they were on board with and what it's something that they'd want. So I let them know I'm a local muralist here in the South Shore of Long Island. I grew up in East Islip, lived in Oakdale for years, and have many, many friends in the community here at Bayport Blue Point. The family had chosen the quote, "She touched the world." That's kind of been something that they've been saying for a few weeks now in her honor. These are going to be two different views of Earth, two different vantage points of Earth. And then in the feathers, I'm going to incorporate aspects of Gabby's own artwork into it. I'm going to copy it from images and do my best to do it justice. I'm a very kind of messy painter, and she did these incredible line work, like Zentangle and mandala work. So we'll see if I can if I can mimic it. I'll try my best, Gabby. And then there's going to be sunflowers. There's going to be butterflies. Yeah, I'm just going to make it from that image. When I heard about the case, I began following it. I had friends tell me about it because it's local around here. It's something I would have known about regardless. And I think it's just something that's so tragic and something that could have been prevented had it been handled a little bit better in Wyoming, or Utah rather, and maybe even in Wyoming too, because there's so much we don't know. There really is so much that we don't know, and a large part of that is because she was taken from us.
You heard her say there are so many things we don't know in this case. Fortunately, we're joined by a person who has always had the answers for us. News Nation's Brian Enton is staked out, as usual, outside of the Laundrie home. So first, just the focus changing over, Brian, from, the manhunt. We forget there is a beautiful woman who's gone, and there are a lot of people grieving.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you played that entire thing, Ashley, and that you got that interview because, I'm so immersed in the manhunt. I'm guilty of it too because I'm following every little lead throughout the entire day. But at the end of the day, this is about Gabby Petito, and that is what that mural should be all about. And the fact that they're going to help shine a light on domestic violence and really an epidemic throughout our entire country is going to do so much good in the decades ahead.
So I just wanted to play that so you guys could get a little bit of an idea. I mean, I'm not here to pick apart what the message was by that artist. I think that it was beautiful that she created that mural on the side of the building, and the building owner allowed her to do it. So that was great.
Ron, let me just add something here because Angela looked up the facts for us. On September 13th, Brian went hiking in the preserve. On September 17th, he was reported missing. On September 19th, the body was discovered. So my problem with assuming he's fleeing is that there's no indication by the facts that he even knew about this indictment, that he even knew the body was found.
Well, it was swirling for a few days before they recovered the body. I think it was a day and a half or a day. So he had an idea that they had this information because
6 day difference. He left on the 13th, and then the body was discovered on the 19th.
But Joe,
but
we
the
we think
FBI
we
and
th- yeah, we think that she was murdered on the 27th, which was the day that he had the outburst in the restaurant earlier in the day, and the restaurant people said he was violent, he was acting irrationally. That's the day that we think, and the coroner gave a time frame of anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks, because
right,
obviously when the
right.
body was recovered, it was it had been out in the elements for 3 to 4 weeks. So what they
But
recovered.
I want to, yeah, right.
Go
I
ahead,
want to
go ahead,
answer to
Judy.
what Joe was saying too, is that the FBI, they closed that Grand Teton National Park. It wasn't just because the Bethunes got that video. They were in there and searching because those were the last known locations. So he knew that they were in there. They were doing drone. There was, things. There was
When
things
did the
going
buffoons give their information?
on. I don't have the exact date of that because they didn't plan to speak about that today, but I did cover that on a previous live stream. So I don't want to I didn't want to misspeak on the exact date, but I'll get that to
You
you and
see
we'll
my
talk about
point,
it
though.
again.
We're assuming facts. We're assuming facts, and it's really so harmful to this family. And I don't think we should do that. We, the professionals, let everyone else, all these YouTubers do it, but we, as the professionals, we should vet facts and only give the facts. We could give our opinions. I think he's fleeing too,
Right.
but I don't think
Yeah.
you can say that unless there's been a determination. Oh, he knew we were after him and he ran. Like
Right.
I think as of now, we still got to consider him a missing person. Because at the
All right,
time, Bill, to your point, at the
So
time, he was not
Bethunes are
wanted.
here. So they reported this video on the 19th at 12:08 a.m. So early on September 19th. So yes, but there was activity in that Grand Teton in the Spread Creek. There was activity. They had it shut down. It wasn't open to the public. So he knew that there was activity going on there. That activity didn't happen just because Jen.
You're making a big leap here. He knew. You're making a big leap.
I feel he knew. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't mind taking that leap. I don't mind. Because that's how strongly I feel about it. And I know that
You can say
we
I feel is great.
get
My
it. That's what I'm
opinion is
saying.
great, but to say it as a fact, I don't like that. I think it does us a disservice because we speak in facts.
I got you, Joe. I got you. No, I understand. And that's the reason why I have you on here, is because I want to hear both sides of this thing. And again, we as people want answers. And unfortunately, the answers are going to take some time. And we have to be patient with the investigation process. But Bill, I wanted to talk to you about the possibilities of what if we never find Brian Laundrie? What if he never gets recovered? What if some of the people who think that he's inside an animal's belly? Where do we go from there?
Well, obviously, without him to charge, there will be no case. I mean, if they never recover him, but the one opposite of that is that there is no statute of limitations to homicide. So if they find him 5 years from now, 10 years, 20 years from now, he can still be charged. But I mean, no one's going to charge or make a case against someone that's not around.
Right. And here's some of the questions and some of the stuff that's coming through in the chat. Ginger Gasper says, love wins. People that are innocent do not run away. That's again an argument. Joe's going to argue that, and I know it. So I'm going to speak even before Joe speaks on it. But this is again here's someone that agrees with Joe. Don't give up, Joe. You are totally right. You see that, Joe? You got some fans out there. They're not that many, but you do have some fans.
DutyRon, I just want to say something. When I was a young cop and I had to testify in court, I just remember the disdain and the hatred I had for defense attorneys. And I just had that. It was almost like this is adversarial. We're in a football game. I am not even looking at you. If you say good morning, officer, I'm not answering you. I'm just going to look at you, and I want you to know you're in a ball game. But then as I became a more experienced officer, I made sergeant, I had more dealings. I understood the criminal justice system much better. And I understood that a defense attorney is trying to do his job, and he is on the other side of the fence from the prosecution. So Joe Murry, look, if I was in trouble I would want someone like him in my corner.
Yes.
Because he's going to, try to create doubt. He's going to use all of the knowledge of the law and all his talent, all his experience, and all his presence to to prove that I'm not guilty. So I don't hate defense attorneys anymore, but it took me many, many, many years and also of being a cop to reach that conclusion.
Joe, I'm highlighting a lot of the people who agree with you because there's more that don't, but I'm highlighting the ones that agree with you. And this is good. This is a good dialogue. It's a good conversation to have because on the YouTube streets and even in the media, you really don't hear this. I don't see many special guests on news articles that involve a criminal defense attorney. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've seen any. But they may be out there. They may exist. Linda, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Soldier Girl, thank you for being here. Let me just say hello to a few people in the chat. Linda, great to have you. Richello Pranzo, Richella, it's great to have you and Lieutenant Pete always in the chat and great subscribers and family and friends. I appreciate everybody that becomes channel members, that goes over to my website, DutyRon.com. Look at all the links, and Joe Murry happens to be on there, Police Off the Cuff. I link all of the good folks on DutyRon.com. I just looked at my Twitter and not one person wants to come and join and ask a question. So I'm going to put it, this was a disaster the last time I did it, but I'm going to just look at my Twitter one more time to see if anybody sent a direct message. And if they haven't, I'm going to put the link in the chat, but you need to be able to put your headphones, like an earpiece in. You can't have the audio just blasting out of your computer or your phone. So if you want to join and ask Joe, Bill, or myself a question, I'm going to put it in the chat right now. And again, the last time I did this was a disaster. Not saying it was bad for the people. I'm just saying I couldn't hear the people who were joining. So let's make sure that if you want to join, that you put some kind of headphones or something on so we can hear you. And I'm hoping that I'm able to get the audio. Kristen sends in a super chat and says, hello to you three awesome gentlemen. I wonder if the FBI could potentially find him and get him into custody without anyone noticing, from Scotland. So she's saying, you think the FBI could have gotten him or could get him, bring him into custody and not tell anybody? Bill, I'll let you take that.
No, I don't think so. I think this is such a high profile case that if they did apprehend him, they would want to share that information with the world.
Yeah, I agree too. I don't think that they would be able to take him into custody and be quiet about it. All right, let's try Rachel in the UK. She was quick to join as soon as I shared that link. So unmute yourself, Rachel, and I'll let you join in. Hi, Rach.
Hello, how are you all doing?
Yay, it works. Good to have you. Questions about Brian Laundrie, and we want to keep it targeted to this, not to anything else. So what's your question?
Yep. My question is, all this money that's been put in and, all these protesters that are outside the Laundrie's family, would it not be not advisable, but a bit more sensible to stop harassing the family and maybe, even though they've lawyered up, maybe if people ease off them, they may be more willing to speak and help find Brian.
Are you referring
and bring everything?
Rachel, are you referring to some of the protesters that are outside of the Laundrie home and also Cassie Laundrie's home? Okay. Joe, I'll let you take that.
I think that's a wonderful, wonderful comment, and I think it should happen. These are United States citizens who have the protections and freedoms and liberties that we all enjoy from the Constitution, and they're being treated like convicted, heinous criminals. It's horrible. I cannot believe what's happening. Yet they're not even charged with anything. Everyone has convicted them, and they want to bury them, and they haven't even been charged. Now, from a law enforcement perspective, it would make sense to draw back and relieve some of the pressure. Let them just relax a little, let their guard down, maybe do something that if he is absconded and they're in communication, that may show it. But when you're under the microscope like that, nobody's going to let their guard down. They're going to keep, doing what they're doing. So I think that's brilliant.
And this whole, tragic thing with Gabby, it has it doesn't just affect one person, it has a ripple effect. It affects lots of people everywhere, you know, those that suffer with domestic violence. I have myself many years ago. You know, I'm fine, you know, I don't dwell on that. But Gabby has highlighted domestic violence and domestic abuse. Now, in my opinion, I believe Brian's guilty, but putting all this pressure on the family, on his family, is just making them close down even more. They're never going to speak. The more pressure you put on somebody, more people go in themselves and don't want to speak.
Right.
I can tell Chris Laundrie wants to talk, but he
Right.
won't.
There's an argument here, Rachel, with some of the folks that are out there, because, you know, I've spoken out about that and I said it's wrong to go out in front of the house and throw things on the front lawn. I don't encourage it. I would never do it. I'd never tell anybody of my following to do it. But, you know, there's an argument on that other side, because there's two sides to this, and people who are out there doing it on bullhorns and whatnot, they feel that when they put the pressure like that on the family, that there's more of a chance of them talking. So there's always two sides to the coin.
Absolutely.
I have another person waiting. Rachel, thank you so much for coming and having the courage to come on. I really love that you did that, and thank you for contributing to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad you can understand my accent all the way from UK.
We loved your accent.
We love the UK.
We love you guys. Love you all. You're all absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
I'll speak to you later. Bye-bye.
Ciao. All right. We've got Mike Colon checking in from over in Connecticut. Here he is. There's the protege, Mike Colon from Mike.
I don't think I met this guy before. Have we met? Joe Murry, have we met?
Yes,
well,
sir.
DutyRon.
We had a wonderful interview on your show, MC's Audio.
What do you got for us, Mike?
Thank you very much. Well, briefly, I just wanted to ask Bill, you were talking about this a couple of shows ago. There's always and Rachel kind of alluded to it, you know, outside interference, like bounty hunter was getting involved. And Bill, you mentioned really talking about how if everything's secret, then nothing's secret. So in an investigation like this, where obviously you want to ensure that you're not divulging too much information, and you pull the right on them information, what is that fine line? It's obviously so polarizing.
You know, Mike, you were cutting out a little bit, but I think I got the gist of what you were talking about. I think that you have to, as an investigative body, you have to use the press and play the press like they're a violin and use them to the benefit of the investigation. However, the FBI takes a totally 180-degree position from that. The FBI wants everything to be secret. And I don't think that helps the investigation when you keep everything secret. I think many things you should keep secret, but when you keep everything secret, it just makes people start doing what we're seeing, harassing the Laundrie family, going on their lawn, protesting, shouting at them. Sometimes you have to, it's almost like opening up a valve. Take some of that pressure out of it. And then people in the press and in the public, they're going to back off a little bit. But there's a fine line between compromising the investigation by giving too much information or not giving enough information and having people in the press and in the public losing their minds.
Outstanding. Thank you for that, Bill. Do you have anything else to add to that, Joe?
No, I think that's perfect. I use the press. The defense uses the press too. So you just got to use it as a tool.
Yeah, I agree. Mike, thank you for the questions. I got like 5 people waiting. So, all
right, thanks.
Good to see you, Mike.
Check out Mike up over there on YouTube. I'll send everybody over to Mike. All right, Nadine Malloy. I hope I got that right. Hi, Nadine. What's your question?
Hello. Sorry, I'm just recovering from
Where are you
COVID,
from?
but if you can't hear me properly, I'm in Scotland.
Okay, you're getting over COVID. I hope that you get your strength back, and I'm so happy that you joined the show, Nadine.
Thank you. I've been watching like the Police Off the Cuff and yourself, and really enjoying it, especially with this case. But I was just kind of wondering, you know, when you're talking about the parents and about them keeping quiet and things like that, I just wonder though, there's been a couple of times where they haven't been consistent with that, in terms of like the dad going out to search just that one day and then like him out mowing the lawn, and it just seems a bit strange. Like, I think if they'd been consistent with it and just stayed out the way for the full time, but there's been a few things that just, and then obviously everything that they done beforehand, before obviously he went missing. It seems a bit strange to me. It doesn't seem very consistent.
I agree with that statement. You know, nothing is consistent in what went on with the Laundries, in my opinion. And you know, we see it. It's here on the national stage. You know, international, obviously. I don't know how much reporting gets filtered over into Scotland, but you know, again, you know, transparency and things like this, as we think as parents, if my kid was to come home without his girlfriend of 2 years, I would ask him to go and tell everybody. But this is not the situation. And as Joe said, everybody's entitled to their rights. The Fifth Amendment was invoked, and that's what our Constitution, our great Constitution, provides us with, those rights and those, you know, it's different from country to country. So it is frustrating. Joe, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand, though. Oh, what was I going to say? For fuck's sake, what? Yes, the Fifth Amendment right. I mean, even just retaining counsel, everybody's condemning them for
Right.
retaining counsel. Everyone's condemning them for, you know, refusing to speak. I kind of, you know, being a police officer, as you guys know, we always look at facts for inculpatory explanations. Oh, he did this because of that. He did, you know, as
Right.
a defense attorney, I do the opposite. I'm looking at the innocent explanation for what happened. And I've come up with so many different common sense scenarios, most of which I text to Phil Grimaldi at 1 a.m. But,
No wonder
but
he's
there
coming
are-
on the show, was showing like he had no sleep the night before.
there are good faith reasons why people take the actions, and innocent people do flee and do run. I've represented them and retain counsel. Now, I looked it up because I wanted to find the case. You might think that the privilege against self-incrimination is only for people who are guilty, right? Because how can you incriminate yourself if you're not guilty? But that's not correct, because there are facts that may cause, you know, the link, circumstantial evidence, putting you on the crime scene, that could make you look guilty even though you're not guilty. So the U.S. Supreme Court has upheld that it doesn't matter if you're even claiming actual innocence, you still can assert a Fifth Amendment privilege and not be compelled to give testimony. So if the U.S. Supreme Court acknowledges it and recognizes it, the public should really grasp this and say, look, there are good faith reasons. Look, what if I was in that Teton area at that time, around the time where they estimate the body, the murder happened.
Right.
If somebody asked me where I was and what I was doing, sorry, I'm not answering that, because if I say yes, I'm on the scene. Now I'm a suspect. I put myself in the jackpot.
We got you, Joe. I got it.
People do that.
All right, we got to move on. There's like 5 more people. I want to just point out that Keep Grinding Up put on the screen, and it's a pretty good statement. Retaining counsel is fine. It's the running away that's a problem. Thank you for that question, that response in the chat. I love it. Thank you, Nadine, for taking out your time. I hope you get better, feel well, and we'll see you soon. Make sure you subscribe to both of Police Off the Cuff and DutyRon Crime Time.
Thank you.
Feel better, Nadine.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Innocent people do run away, though. I got to make that clear.
Absolutely. And we know, I've heard you speak about it on Bill's show. You've spoken about it on mine, and I agree, because I have chased bad guys, and like I run them down. If you can believe, I've run people down and caught them. And when I get them, they got no warrants. They got nothing. They got no warrant. Why did you run away? I was scared. I am scared of the police. And that's common. Bill, you know that. Let's keep the questions again to Brian Laundrie and the charges either against him or not being upgraded. Let's keep it so it stays, we stay on target here. I'm gonna get to the people that are here. Clark, thank you for joining. How are you, bud? Where are you watching from, and what's your question?
I'm calling from Arkansas. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I hear you.
Yeah, I'm calling from Arkansas. Just a quick note. My dad was a cop back when I was between the ages of 5 and 20. So utmost respect for all of you guys. DutyRon, I just recently became a member of your channel. So
thank you.
Thank you for what your service and everything, and everybody on the stream here. Thank you for what you guys do. My question is, what are the chances of this guy actually being in Teton National Park hiding out? Because, I mean, from what I've learned growing up with my dad being a cop, he always said they always like to return to the scene of the crime or close by. And, for maybe some sentimental sick reason for this guy, he wants to be close to that area and nobody's searching because he knows that with his parents, throwing out lies, yeah, he's in Florida or he's on the Appalachian Mountain. And he may be, in Wyoming. I mean, has anybody ever thought about maybe even checking there?
That's a good possibility. And I don't know if they're still searching in Teton because there's no media coverage there.
Right, right.
They could very well be still searching there, but we don't know. Bill and I, Joe, all of us don't have access to the case file, and we don't know what's going on. They're concentrating everything at the Colton Reservoir, the Colton Reserve, down in Northport in that area in Sarasota. And there's talk about the Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina and whatnot, but nothing about Teton. I have not heard one report. That's a very good possibility. What's your thoughts on that, Bill?
That's excellent.
Look, he could be anywhere. And I like the fact that he brought up would it be possible that he's staying around there because he wants to stay near the scene of the crime? That's a common thing that serial killers do. They revisit the crime scene to relive the event. I'm not saying Brian's a serial killer, but would he would do that? I don't think that would be common for someone that killed a single person to do that. As I said, I know serial killers do that. There's documentation of them doing that. The post-investigation on serial killers, they've admitted to doing that. But as far as Clark asking, could he still be in the Teton Mountains? Absolutely. But, it seems like the search is taking place only in Florida, in the reserve.
Right. And they're searching hard there, too. Clark, I got like 4 more people. I want to get to them all. So I thank you for being a channel member. I thank your dad for his service. And I thank you for supporting the men and women in law enforcement. We need folks like you, and we need people to support what the great men and women in law enforcement are doing on the state, local, and federal level. Because without them, we have anarchy. So thank you, Clark.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Clark. Thanks
to meet you.
Bye. All right, we got Mom of 6. She's the next up. Mom of 6 is joining us. I hope she has the mic and everything all set up. Hi, Mom.
Hi, guys.
How are you? Where are you watching us from, and what's your question?
Ash Fork, Arizona. And my question is, I've been listening to people say, and I agree with you, DutyRon, 100%, and Joe, that they should not be camping outside the Laundrie's house and harassing them and everything. That's wrong on so many different levels. My question is, if they went out and addressed the people, addressed the media, wouldn't it all stop?
Joe?
Can I take that? Oh, thank you for that question. That's very important because I think that's a misconception people have. This case is ongoing. The investigation is ongoing. Nobody's been charged, anyone, in connection with her death. So even if they stepped out the door today and gave a full rendition of what happened, they'd still be there because this case is ongoing and there would be so much scrutiny and trying to impeach them and say, no, you said this and I found something else. So I don't think that's the remedy. But I got to tell you, I really do believe there's a good faith reason for not discussing this, probably because they have a close relationship with their son and he was communicating with him about, certain facts maybe related to their domestic incidents and problems that they're having. So by coming forward with that, they now made themselves a target for law enforcement, for the prosecutors who are going to want to put them on the stand to talk about that. Because if Brian made these admissions about engaging in domestic violence, that can be brought in against him. So they should say nothing, absolutely nothing to anyone, because once they do and they come out with it, they endanger themselves. And think about how compelling that would be. The parents of Brian become the star witnesses who
Bill,
put him on the scene, who
Bill,
put
I
him
want-
there engaging in this domestic
No,
violence.
you're right, Joe, and I'm not cutting you off. I want to get to everybody. So,
Gotcha.
Bill,
Great question, though. Great question.
Great question, Mama Six. Bill, I see your forehead. I see the lines going on. I think a little differently, and I know Joe's point is 100% valid. But if they're completely innocent and their son was an angel or choir boy or whatever you want to say, I don't see any hurt of them coming out and saying, "Oh, she left him and ran away from him, and he just came home." But we got to move on. So, Mama Six, I want to say thank you. I love you support this community and this channel. You are awesome, and keep on being you. Thank you.
Thank you. I love you guys. Bye.
I know.
All right. Sorry, Joe. I want to get to everybody. Paul Keatley. Sorry about that, Paul. He's been waiting patiently, and I want to get to Paul. Thanks for joining. How are you, bud?
G'day, guys. How are you? I'm from Melbourne, Australia, and thank you all for your service. I think you're an amazing, balanced type of guy. So it's really appreciated down here, down under. So thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Put another prawn on the Barbie. We'll be ready.
Yeah. Okay.
What's your question?
I just have a question in regards. I'm going probably a bit left field, but I think something may have happened when because I'm not sure of a timeline, but when Brian left, he hitchhiked somewhere, and he left Gabby behind. Had something happened at that time when he hitchhiked somewhere, and he thought that she was alive, and he was texting her, and when she wasn't responding, he's freaked out and gone, "Oh my God, I think she's dead."
Now, it's been alleged that he hitchhiked. So, Paul, I'm just going to mute your mic so we don't have any noise in the background. Just give me a second. I don't know if the authorities have officially stated that he went and hitchhiked. I know there was a TikTok female that said he got in a car with her. So, Bill, I don't know if you did any research on that, but I tried to find official word from Northport PD, the FBI, any of the authorities over in Utah or in Wyoming. Wyoming. I didn't ever get any confirmation of that. So we don't know whether that is actually true and that actually happened because we don't have the data on it. We have social media posts and we really don't go on that. So, Paul, I'm going to unmute you. I don't think we can even fairly answer that question because we're not.
Let me address part of that because leaving out the hitchhiking, because Paul's onto something. It's not far-fetched to say that something may have happened. We know they had at least one domestic incident that actually progressed or regressed into using force against each other. It was that bad. So we know that took place, and now they're back together. And on the 27th in the Piglet, they had some kind of dispute. I don't think it was physical, or at least reported as physical, but it may have continued and turned into something physical. So I think that's a great observation that you're making, regardless of the hitchhiking. What I think could have happened with the known facts, and I'm not using the hitchhiking, but I'm using the Piglet, is that he did the same thing that he usually does, where he walks away, locks the van, they go one way, he goes the other. Only when he came back, she didn't. And now he panics.
You know,
and
Paul, you better be careful. He may subpoena you. You may wind up testifying in the court of law, and he's not paying your flight either.
I'm going to take it a step further. Listen to this.
But wait, I want to say something. It's okay for the defense attorney to speculate, but when we do, Bill, we get tested.
No. I'm speculating, making it clear. But when you say that he's absconded, I don't know that's a fact. I mean, you believe he is, that's fine.
Right.
He
But
may have
I'm saying
panicked.
we don't know if he hitchhiked or not, and we're still.
I'm not even talking about the hitchhiking. I'm saying that
I got
we know they had another incident at the Piglet.
Right.
And when they left,
yes,
and we believe that she was murdered sometime the 27th, 28th. So it's entirely possible, and I'm just speculating. I have no factual basis, except their past conduct.
Yes,
that argument progressed, and then he tried to do the same thing. He pulled over where the Bethunes found the van.
Yes,
they walked different directions. 200 feet is not far-fetched to think that she walked 200 feet.
It was 250 yards, so it was more than that. So just 2 footballs.
Okay. So she walks out there, and now someone else, a third party, attacks her and kills her. She doesn't come back to the van, and he's looking for her and searching for her.
Exactly. That's what I thought. And he's freaked out.
And it makes sense. It fits.
Excellent question. Excellent conversation, Paul. I thank you from Australia. You got a friend here in New York. I love it. I love that you're thinking outside the box. So thank you for being patient.
Thank you, guys, and thanks again for your services. New York deserved you. How's that?
Excellent, buddy. Paul. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you.
All right. That was cool. Great guy. I hope to hear from him again.
You have such far-reaching, I
love
tentacles here. You're reaching all over the globe.
It's awesome. CS Calderon is the next up, and then we have Kathy, Kimberly, and Phased in podcast. CS Calderon, where are you watching from, and what's your question?
First of all, hi guys. First and foremost, I totally love your guys' channel. Big, huge fan. Police Off the Cuff, DutyRon, you guys rock. And Joe Murry, you're. I love just the 3 different perspectives.
He's all right.
I myself.
I finally know where I recognize him from, the Dinty Moore stew can. He looks just like the guy on the side of that.
Thank you for waiting, CS. Thank you for waiting.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. So as a person who was an officer of the court and retired, I did adult probation and I did a juvenile probation. So just, I've been exposed to a lot of different things as well, CPS,
awesome.
All that good stuff. My remark is maybe not so much a question, is just anyone, whether they're innocent or guilty by proven in a court of law, can lawyer up at any time. We have constitutional rights here in this beautiful country of ours. And I'm not, we all have our own opinions, and we want justice for the victims. Absolutely. But my point is, when you lay on such heaviness for people that you are kind of like a mob mentality, if you will, against people that we think are guilty. Those are just your thoughts. We don't have all of the evidence. And when we do, then we have a thing called where you go in, you can obtain a lawyer, you can defend yourself with peers, that is the jury, the judge. So I think what it is we're getting one of those trial by media cases at the moment. And so I say, let everybody deserves a fair chance. we don't know for sure if he's the one that committed this
Right.
horrendous crime against this beautiful soul.
I see what
That's
you're
more
saying.
what I
I
just
know where
wanted to
you're
say. I'm
going.
not trying to defend.
No, no, no. I see what you're saying. I know where you're going, and I get it because people, parents, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters are out here watching this, and you have everything from elderly to in between, and folks are just looking at it and becoming emotionally attached to it. And sometimes when our emotions get the better of us, we don't act in the proper way. And people, you see throwing laundry baskets on the front lawn. Screaming with bullhorns day and night, not caring about the neighbors if they have health conditions, and not caring about anybody around them. So that mob mentality is never a good thing. And I'm a full, I am for the criminal justice system and for everyone to get a fair shake. Unfortunately, it's not it's perfect system, and innocent people get go to jail, and that's why we have that Innocence Project out there. And I've been in contact with many people who are in that Marty Tanklift, and a whole bunch of people who are involved in getting people who are exonerated that were sent to prison wrongfully. That is true and evident that happens. But when people are out there pointing fingers at people before they've been judged and put into the criminal justice system, that's a definite problem. And I agree that it's there. But we as human beings, we see things, we see actions, and then we just take and we make our decisions based on, hey, they're not coming forward. Hey, they're not doing this. But guys like myself and Bill, we've had these criminals, these brutal murderers, these rapists, these people who will take a mother or a daughter and a son and kill a whole family in front of us. And we've seen these evil people, and we kind of get a little bit of we have a view of what goes on because we've interviewed these folks, and a lot of people don't have that that advantage. So when we talk, we look at what we see from the outside, and we take the evidence that is available to the public, and we talk about it. Bill, anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'd be the first one to say that if one of my sons were charged, then I would tell them to lawyer up immediately. I mean, that's my experience in the criminal justice field. But with all the facts and circumstances in this case, it looks ugly because there was the domestic violence component. He drives home with her van. She's not with him. She's found dead, laying in a field. They had, some violent encounters together. So all of that circumstantial evidence, of course, as a police officer, leads me to believe that he did something bad. But as far as the criminal justice system, if myself or anyone in my family is the subject, I would of course tell them to seek counsel.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, C.S. Calderon, for your input. It's always great to see everybody come in, and I appreciate you participating in this interactive chat. Have a good one.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Nice to meet you.
You as
Bye-bye.
well.
Bye.
All right. So who's up next?
I got Joe Murry on speed dial.
Yeah.
I've been paying these people to call, like John Wall.
Again, I'm going to remind the folks who are waiting. Kathy is going to be up next. Just keep it, simple, so this way we can get to the other 3 or 4 people that are waiting. They're all waiting patiently, and I appreciate that. Kathy, where are you watching from, and what's your question?
I am from Missouri. And
Show me state. I love it.
yeah.
What
Well, the weather hadn't been real great here, so it's not like we can show you a lot of dark sky and clouds.
What's your question, Kathy?
With this whole Brian thing, I feel like it's getting out of hand. And I feel like there's a lot more out there than we know, and they need to stop the protesters and everything that's going on, because all they're doing is interfering with the work that's being done.
I agree. And I appreciate that input. There's there's lots of noise being happening out there, and there's lots of things going on. But again, we're not there. We're watching it from our homes, and there's community unrest because there's a lot of unanswered questions. But I thank you for that thought and that question. We got to move on to the next one. Much love and respect to you, and thank you for joining. All right.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. Let's see who is next. We're getting through them. Kimberly, where are you watching from, and what's your question? Kim? Hi. All right. We're going to move into the next Phased In podcast. I've been waiting patiently. And what's your question? Where are you watching from?
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for allowing me to come on. I'm a New Jersey State Corrections Sergeant, and just have a few questions. Do you think that the Laundries are actually, the parents are maybe working out a deal with the FBI? And also, I really believe that the attorney knows where Brian is. Do you think he's waiting for maybe possible injuries to heal before Brian turns himself in or anything like that?
Thank you.
Wow, that's really insightful. My God.
Before anybody answers, thank you for your service. It's tough working behind the walls. We get the bad guys, bring them in off the streets, and these guys handle and deal with them on a regular basis. So the corrections field is sometimes an overlooked part of the criminal justice system. Kudos to the men and women in corrections, and thank you for what you guys do. I always dealt with the Jersey, the tri-state guys, and I've been in Essex County. I've been to, all over the place in Jersey, and they're nothing but consummate professionals over there. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Joe, you want to take that, Joe?
Yeah, I just want to compliment. That was wonderful because it just shows the insightfulness of it. When you think about what happened initially, right? They retained counsel. Nobody would talk to them. All of a sudden, Chris, the father, is now, volunteering information, even going out into the preserve to help point out, locations. So it could possibly be, and the federal government is not beyond that, where he came in for a proffer and they discussed, what he knows and is now giving information. So that's a great observation. And then secondly, about the healing injuries, that's brilliant, that he decided not only the healing injuries, but to go out there. Nobody can actually make with any credibility that any injury didn't happen right there while he's out there. So just going out there, I think, was enough to camouflage if he was trying to camouflage some type of injury. But that's brilliant. I'm glad you observed that. I'm not surprised you're law enforcement.
Thank you.
Bill, you have anything to that? Anything to add?
Yeah, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and swims like a duck, it's a duck.
Thank you. I knew you were going to say that. Hey, Phased In podcast. Stay safe, brother.
Hey, man, great to meet you.
Yeah,
you too. Thank you.
Nice meeting you, man. Take care. All right, I think we did it. Everybody, we took care of everybody. Everyone got a chance to come on. Kimberly, who was in and out, has bounced back in. So let's see if she's got her stuff together. Kimberly, can you hear me? You can't say I didn't try. Can't say I didn't try. Kim?
I don't think she's hearing us.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna wrap it up. If she, next time we'll have her come on next time. Listen, this has been a great 1 hour and 23 minutes, and I thank you guys for taking these questions. I wanted to do this call in. Ed Wallace was going to do it with me, but he had a death in the family, and I send my prayers, strength, and positive vibes to Ed Wallace and his family on their loss. Just a terrible situation. We'll get into it probably on another show. I didn't get full approval to talk about the details of it, but he suffered a family loss and was unable to come. And Bill stepped right up, and Joe was like, "Hey, chance for me to get in there? You kidding me?
Sunday afternoon, who thinks I have a life?
It's like, hey, any chance I get to ruin your show, no, but seriously, thank you, Joe. Tremendously, Bill. You guys are. I'm honored and proud to call you both friends, and I
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
I appreciate the experience,
Likewise.
the insight that you guys provide from both sides, and Bill and I. It's almost like we gang up on Joe because he knows we're there to.
I almost feel that, but then knowing that he's once a heavyweight boxer, I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Because if he was in the same room as us, he'd be intimidating us. So it's good that we're not in the same room as him, you know?
Absolutely.
I love you guys. Well, I just want to leave one final quote. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So the absence of evidence of that third person killer does not mean it didn't happen.
Look at that. He stole a quote from crime scene sergeant John Palucci to use on the defense side. Do you believe that?
That is disgusting. That's disgusting. Anyways, let me just go to the live chat and say thank you to my live chatters, the people who left super chats. They're still coming in. The Mystery Maven just sent in a $10 super chat, and she says, if we don't uphold the Constitution protections for everyone, including the accused, our entire justice system is meaningless with a predetermined outcome. So we need strong voices like at Joe Murry. The Mystery Maven, thank you for that super chat, and thank you for letting Joe Murry off the hook, because we're going to crush him. We're going to crush him at the end of the show anyways. But thank you for that super chat, and thank you for all of your support always. The Mystery Maven is awesome subscriber and friend. I'm proud to call her a friend. So thank you for
Me
that.
too, yeah.
The moderators, the Patreon supporters, the channel members, make sure you subscribe to all things DutyRon. Go on over to DutyRon.com, where you can see all of the videos that we share, links to Police Off the Cuff. If you need a criminal defense attorney, Joe Murray's on there. I encourage you to subscribe to Real Crime Stories with Police Off the Cuff. That's Bill Cannon right down below. And subscribe to DutyRon. More importantly, to Red, White, and Bethune will be live at 7 p.m. Eastern. Go check out her channel. Shower her and her family. Kyle, her husband, is a great human being and a patriot. I appreciate their support and friendship. I'm glad and proud to call them friends as well. So as I like to end all these, God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, and all victims of crime and their families, but especially Gabby Petito and her family. We want to send them strength, prayers, and positive vibes. Bill,
Amen.
Joe, thank you for joining, and let's take it out with the Angela extro, the outro. I forgot the intro in the beginning of this, and I was like, we're going to do the outro. Good night from New York.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night.